I never thought regaining my hearing would break my heart. I sat in my chair, hands folded neatly over my lap, staring at nothing. The bandages from my surgery were gone now. The silence I'd lived in for over a decade, gone too, and yet I didn't say a word. From the kitchen, voices floated through the air, clear, sharp, cruel. "She's like a useless mute pet," Claire, my daughter-in-law, laughed. "Just sits there, blank as ever. Once we dump her in a care home, we'll finally be free and rich." Sebastian's voice followed, low and steady, the same voice I once rocked to sleep. "She's a burden, Claire. We'll get the house, her savings, everything. She won't even know what's happening." I gripped my teacup so tightly I thought the porcelain would crack. 15 years of silence, and the first thing I hear is my own child plotting to erase me. I should have cried. I should have screamed, stormed into that kitchen, demanded answers. But I didn't. Because in that moment, something inside me hardened. They thought I couldn't hear them. They thought I was weak, helpless, deaf to their schemes. Let them believe it. They'll never see me coming. The next morning, I sat at the breakfast table, staring down at my hands. They looked smaller somehow, weaker. I turned them over slowly, as if searching for proof that I was still me. Claire's heels clicked across the kitchen floor. She didn't even glance at me as she poured coffee for herself and Sebastian. "Don't forget," she said, voice sweet and sharp all at once. "We need to call the realtor about her house today. The market's hot. We don't want to wait." Her house, that's what she called it now. Sebastian grunted in agreement. "And the care home, too. The sooner she's out, the sooner we can move forward." I lifted my teacup, hiding the tremor in my fingers. The tea was cold, but I sipped anyway. 15 years deaf, and now every word cut deeper than silence ever did. When the surgery worked, when sound came flooding back into my world, I thought it was a miracle. I thought the first voices I'd hear would be Sebastian's, soft, loving, grateful. Instead, they were plotting to sell the roof over my head. I wanted to believe I was wrong, that they didn't mean it. But the truth was right there in their voices, flat, practical, unkind. I thought of the boy I raised, the boy who used to run to me with scraped knees and say, "Don't tell Dad I cried." Where had he gone? The urge to scream, to confront them right then, burned hot in my chest, but I swallowed it. Not yet. If I lashed out now, they'd cover their tracks. They'd smile, pretend it was all a misunderstanding, and keep scheming when I wasn't looking. So I made a choice. I would stay silent. I would let them believe I was still deaf, still unaware. Because silence wasn't weakness anymore. It was armor. That afternoon, I slipped out of the house while they were in the living room, arguing over renovation colors for my kitchen. At the edge of the garden, I pulled out my phone. My fingers hesitated over the screen before dialing. The voice on the other end was older, steadier than I remembered. "Mrs. Whitmore? Is that really you?" "Yes," I whispered. "It's me. I need your help. But no one can know I can hear again. Not yet." There was a pause, then a quiet laugh. "After all these years, Evelyn, you're still full of surprises. Tell me everything." I told him everything, about the surgery, about hearing my own son's voice planning to strip me of everything I owned, about the cold laughter of the woman he'd married. "I need to move quietly," I said. "I can't let them know I hear again, not until I've secured my accounts, my assets, my home. Do you still have access to your financial records?" I don't know. They've been managing things, telling me it's for my own good." He sighed, a sound full of restrained anger. "Mrs. Whitmore, they're not managing you. They're positioning. We'll need to act carefully. Are you prepared for what this might mean?" I swallowed hard. I don't want revenge. I want protection. And I want the truth on paper before they try to bury me. "Then let's begin." As I hung up, my heart pounded, not with fear, but with something sharper. Determination. They thought they were moving their pieces on the board, but they had no idea I was already playing the game. Tomorrow, I would start watching them closer. Every word, every lie, every slip. And when they thought they had me cornered, that's when I'd strike. That evening, I forced myself to sit through dinner with them. Claire talked about countertop styles like she already owned the house. Sebastian scrolled on his phone, mumbling about stocks and liquidating assets. I nodded, smiled faintly, and let them believe their little performance. Inside, I was boiling. After dinner, while Claire ran a bath upstairs and Sebastian disappeared into his office, I slipped into my room and pulled out the old folder where I kept my pension statements and my husband's letters. The folder felt thinner than I remembered. Several pages were missing. My fingers trembled as I flipped through. They'd already started diverting small sums. $50 here, $200 there. Nothing flashy, nothing I'd notice if I wasn't paying attention. They thought I was blind to numbers too, I whispered. Fools! The lawyer called later that night with instructions. Go to the bank tomorrow, quietly, check your accounts, and don't sign anything they give you, not even a greeting card. I almost laughed. I stopped signing my name in this house years ago. You'll need to be careful. If they sense you're moving, they'll accelerate their plans. Let them, I said coldly. The higher they build their house of lies, the harder it will fall. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the dark window. For the first time in years, I didn't see a frail old woman waiting for life to happen to her. I saw a storm brewing. Tomorrow, I'd step into the bank like a ghost come back to life, and they'd never see me coming. The bank smelled of floor polish and stale air. I stood in line clutching my handbag like it held my entire life, because it did. When it was my turn, the young teller smiled politely. How can I help you today? My son usually manages my accounts, I said softly, pretending to strain to hear. But I'd like to check my balances myself, just for peace of mind. She nodded and typed quickly. Her fingers froze mid-keystroke. That's odd, she murmured. My stomach clenched. What's odd? Some large transfers went out over the last 6 months. And she squinted at the screen. This account is no longer under your name alone. There's a co-owner, Sebastian Whitmore. The blood drained from my face. Sebastian. My son, the boy I taught to ride a bike, to spell his name, to say please and thank you. He'd added himself to my accounts, without asking. And Claire? I would bet my life she was the one who whispered it into his ear. I forced a smile. Thank you, dear. That's all I needed. As I walked out of the bank, my legs felt hollow. The roar of traffic around me seemed louder than it should have been. They weren't planning to take everything. They'd already started. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I drove 3 towns over to a dusty little cafe and parked at the far end of the lot. The man waiting inside wore a sharp gray suit and glasses that caught the light as he looked up. Mrs. Whitmore, Mr. Ellison said, rising to greet me. It's been a long time. Yes, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, and now I need you more than ever. We sat in the corner booth, hunched over papers while the waitress refilled my tea. I handed him copies of my account summaries, highlighting the transfers. They thought I wouldn't notice, I said. They thought I was too deaf, too old, too grateful. They underestimated you, he replied. That's their first mistake. Let's make sure it's not their last. He laid out a plan. Freeze my accounts quietly. Draft a new will cutting Sebastian out entirely. Create an irrevocable trust for my grandchildren and a donation to a music conservatory in my husband's name. They'll find nothing to take when they finally make their move, he said. I looked at the blank spaces where my signature would go. My hand shook slightly, but my heart didn't falter. Do it, I said. When I returned home hours later, the house was dark except for the glow of the living room TV. From the hallway, I heard Claire's voice, low and triumphant. She's practically a ghost. We'll have her sign power of attorney next week. Sebastian, rehearse with me. Mom, it's for your own good. Don't you trust me? My jaw clenched. Trust died the moment you called me a burden. I slipped into my room and hid the signed papers deep in my knitting bag. Tomorrow, I would begin moving my accounts. And when they thought they had me cornered, I would show them just how dangerous a helpless old woman could be. The next morning, I sat in my armchair by the window, pretending to be dozing while the two of them whispered in the kitchen. She's almost there, Claire said, her voice low but tight with excitement. Another week and she'll sign over power of attorney, Sebastian sighed. I still feel weird about it. She raised me, Claire. Don't go soft now, Claire snapped. She's barely here as it is. It's like babysitting a plant. And once we get her signature, it's all ours. The house, the accounts, everything. They thought I couldn't hear them. They thought their little performance, Claire fussing over my meals, Sebastian asking if I needed help, signing my own checks, had fooled me. They were right about one thing. I was barely here. Because the version of me that trusted them, that woman was gone. Over the next 3 days, I watched them rehearse their trap, like amateur actors. In the evenings, I could hear them in their bedroom through the thin walls. "Mom, it's for your own good," Sebastian murmured, practicing his lines. "Don't you trust me?" Claire coached him. "Say it softer. She'll melt faster if you sound gentle." I almost laughed. They didn't know trust had already been buried 6 feet under. By day, they kept up the act. Claire brought me tea I didn't ask for, hovering as if I might forget how to lift the cup to my lips. Sebastian kept calling me Mom in that syrupy tone he hadn't used since he was 5. I played along. I let my eyes drift in and out of focus. I mumbled half-sentences and asked them to repeat things I'd already heard. Every time Claire leaned in with her fake smile, I wanted to spit the truth in her face. But no, not yet. That night, I called Mr. Ellison from the garden bench outside, the chill air sharp in my lungs. "They're coming for the power of attorney soon," I said. "They think I'm ready to hand it all over." "Let them think it," he replied. "The trap is almost set. When they finally make their move, they'll give you all the evidence we need." "Good," I whispered. "Because when they fall, I want them to remember every cruel word, every lie, every smug little smile." I went back inside quietly, wiping the dirt from my shoes. From the staircase, I heard Claire's voice again. "She's so pathetic now. Did you see her staring at the wall earlier?" "A living corpse," Sebastian laughed. "She won't even know what hit her." I clenched the banister until my knuckles turned white. Let them laugh. They're already standing on the edge of their own grave. Tomorrow, I'd start preparing the stage. A family dinner. One last performance. And when the curtain fell, they wouldn't be applauding. They'd be begging. The next morning, I let the mask slip, just enough for them to think I was unraveling. At breakfast, I held the spoon an inch above my bowl, my hand trembling slightly. The oatmeal slid off and splattered onto the table. Claire's eyes darted to Sebastian, a smug little twitch at the corner of her mouth. "Oh, Mom?" she said in a voice dripping with fake concern. "Maybe I should start feeding you myself." I mumbled something incoherent and pushed the bowl away. They exchanged a look. Victory was written all over their faces. Perfect. For the next week, I became their greatest performance. I asked them to repeat things 3 times, pretending to mishear. I shuffled slowly down the hallway like my legs couldn't hold me up anymore. I let my words slur slightly when they handed me documents to review. Each time, Claire's confidence grew sharper. "She's slipping fast," I overheard her say one night. "By the time the notary comes, she won't even know what she's signing." Sebastian didn't even hesitate this time. "Good. The sooner we lock this down, the sooner we can start living." I let them think they were brilliant. When Claire left her laptop open one afternoon, I drifted behind her quietly. On the screen was an email to a realtor about listing my house. "Once power of attorney is finalized, we're ready to sell," she had written. "We'll be in touch to stage the property." She signed it with her full name. So sure, so careless. I kept my face blank, even as the fire rose in my chest. That night, I practiced my own lines in the mirror. "Of course, Sebastian, I trust you." "Yes, Claire, whatever you think is best." The words tasted like ash in my mouth, but I said them anyway, over and over, smoothing the edges until they sounded natural. When I faced them, they would hear nothing but weakness. And that would be their undoing. 2 days later, Claire came bouncing into the living room. "Mom, guess what?" she said brightly. "We've arranged a nice family dinner for Friday. Just you, me, and Sebastian. We want to talk about your future." "My future." I nodded slowly. "That sounds nice." She beamed like a predator, about to sink her teeth in. As I lay in bed that night, the plan solidified in my mind. The dinner would be their stage. I'd let them perform their lies and flattery, Let them hand me the documents with their smug smiles. And then, when the moment was right, I would speak, clearly, firmly, and watch their little kingdom burn. Friday crept closer like a storm on the horizon. I moved through the house softly, watching, listening. Every fake smile Clare threw my way, every satisfied smirk from Sebastian as he rehearsed his little speech. They thought they were setting the stage, but the stage was mine. The morning of the dinner, I called Mr. Ellison from the garden bench. "Tonight's the night," I whispered. "I'll be nearby," he said calmly. "If they bring the papers, let them hand them over. We'll need every signature, every word, every smug little laugh for the file." "I've practiced my lines," I said. "Good. Make them believe you're ready to sign everything away." "They already believe it." There was a pause. "And are you ready for the fallout?" I stared at the koi pond as the fish glided under the surface, weightless and silent. "Yes," I said. "Let them drown in their own greed." Back inside, Clare was arranging the dining table like it was a royal banquet. Candles, cloth napkins, wine glasses sparkling under the chandelier. "Don't you worry about a thing, Mom," she said with that syrupy tone. "Tonight is all about making sure you're taken care of." I nodded weakly. "You're so good to me, dear." She smiled wide, but her eyes flashed like a predator scenting blood. By late afternoon, the smell of roasted chicken filled the house. I let Clare help me into one of my nicer sweaters, her fingers lingering too long on my shoulders like she was already claiming me as hers. "There," she said. "Now you look lovely for your little dinner." Her words were sweet, her grip wasn't. As the clock struck 6, Sebastian emerged from his office in a pressed shirt and a forced smile. "Ready to talk about your future, Mom?" he asked. I nodded slowly, my voice just above a whisper. "Of course, dear, I trust you." His grin widened. "Good. Let them think I was walking willingly into their snare." While they fussed over wine bottles and seating arrangements, I slipped into the laundry room and sent one last text to Mr. Ellison. "They're bringing the documents tonight. Be ready." "Already parked outside," he replied. "I'll move when you signal." I tucked the phone back into my pocket, heart steady, hands still. As I shuffled back to the table, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. To them, I looked like a frail old woman, quiet, grateful, defenseless. But behind my eyes, the storm was gathering strength. Tonight, they would hand me the keys to their own destruction, and I would lock the door behind them. The candles flickered as I took my seat at the head of the table. Clare hovered behind me, adjusting the napkin on my lap with exaggerated care. "Such a special night," she said sweetly. "We're here to talk about your comfort, Mom, about making things easier for you." Sebastian poured wine into my glass and then his own. His hand shook slightly. "Nerves? Or excitement?" "Don't worry, Mom," Clare cooed. "This will all make sense soon." I blinked slowly, keeping my expression soft and vague. Clare smiled wider, mistaking my silence for confusion. Dinner passed in a blur of clinking cutlery and practiced smiles. Sebastian tried once to draw me in. "Mom, you understand why we're doing this, right? We only want what's best for you." I tilted my head, squinting slightly, as if I didn't quite hear. Clare jumped in to translate for me, her voice louder and slower like I was a child. "We're going to help you manage everything, okay?" I nodded faintly and let my eyes drift toward the window. After dessert, Clare excused herself and returned with a leather folder pressed tight to her chest. "Here they are," she said brightly, setting the documents in front of me. "Just a few quick signatures, and you'll never have to worry about bills or paperwork again." Sebastian slid a pen toward me. "This will make things official. Power of attorney, access to your accounts, the house. It's all streamlined this way." Clare patted my hand like I was a pet. "No more stress, Mom. We'll handle everything for you." I let the pen rest between my fingers, my hand trembling just enough to sell the illusion. They didn't notice the small black device in the pocket of my cardigan, silently recording every word. "She's so out of it," Clare muttered to Sebastian when I hesitated. "Look at her. She probably thinks she's signing a birthday card." Sebastian smirked. "Poor thing. She won't even realize she just handed us her entire life." I turned the first page slowly, my lips moving slightly as if trying to make sense of the words. "Would you like me to explain it, Mom?" Claire asked, her tone sickly sweet. "Or maybe just trust us?" I let out a soft hum, vague and non-committal. Claire grinned, convinced I hadn't understood a thing. As they cleared the plates, I excused myself with a slow wave of my hand. In the hallway, I reached into my pocket and checked the recorder. The little red light still glowed steady. Every word, every mocking laugh. They'd just handed me their noose. Outside, headlights flashed briefly. Mr. Ellison's car. He was waiting for my signal. The document sat in front of me, thick and heavy, like a coffin nailed shut. Claire's hands hovered over mine, guiding the pen toward the first signature line. Her perfume was too sweet, suffocating. "There, Mom," she said softly. "Just sign here. Then everything will be taken care of. You won't have to worry about a single thing." Sebastian leaned in, nodding encouragingly. "It's all for your own good. Don't you trust us?" I looked between them, my face carefully blank. My hand trembled as I lifted the pen, the tip hovering above the page. Claire's smile widened. "That's it. Almost done." My fingers tightened around the pen, and then I stopped. The room seemed to shrink around us, the candlelight flickering like it knew what was coming. I set the pen down with a soft click and pushed the papers back across the table. Sebastian frowned. "Mom?" Claire tilted her head, her voice sharp now. "What are you doing? You don't need to read them. It's all standard. Sit down." The words came out clear, firm, unmistakable. Claire froze mid-sentence. Sebastian blinked, his mouth falling open. "I said sit down," I repeated, my voice steady as stone. They sat slowly, confused. "You think I can't hear you," I said. My eyes locked on Sebastian. "But I've heard every word, every cruel, greedy word." Claire's face strained of color. You're not deaf?" I finished for her. "No, not anymore. I got my hearing back weeks ago, and I kept it secret because I needed to know the truth." I reached into my cardigan pocket and placed the small black recorder on the table. A single button press, and their voices filled the room. "She's so out of it. She probably thinks she's signing a birthday card. Poor thing. She won't even realize she just handed us her entire life." The sound of Claire's mocking laugh echoed through the dining room like a gunshot. Sebastian's face went pale. Claire's hands curled into fists on the tablecloth. "You loved my money more than you loved me," I said quietly. "You were never planning to take care of me. You were planning to take everything." Sebastian started to speak, but I cut him off with a raised hand. "Save it. I don't want your apologies. And I don't want your lies." I pulled a thick envelope from my knitting bag and slid it across the table. "This," I said, "is my new will. Effective immediately. You're both out. The house, the accounts, every penny, you're entitled to nothing." Claire snatched the envelope and tore it open, her eyes scanning frantically. "This isn't legal," she shouted. "You can't just—" "I already did," I said, "and Mr. Ellison is outside right now with notarized copies for the courts. By this time tomorrow, you'll both be out of this house." Sebastian's hands shook as he reached for mine. "Mom, please." "We didn't mean—" I pulled my hand back like he'd burned me. "You meant every word. You thought I was too deaf, too blind, too weak to notice. But I noticed." Claire's face twisted as she gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. "You can't do this," she shrieked, "after everything we've done for you." "Done for me?" I said calmly. "You mean isolating me? Stealing from me? Laughing at me behind my back? That?" Sebastian's lips parted, but no words came out. I leaned forward slightly, my voice low and deliberate. "Don't worry. I kept receipts." I pressed play again on the recorder. Claire's voice filled the room, dripping with venom. "She's like a useless pet. Once we dump her in a care home, we'll finally be free and rich." Then Sebastian's voice followed, colder than I'd ever heard it. "She won't even realize what's happening. She's a burden. She always has been." Claire whipped around to face him, her voice sharp and panicked. "Why did you say that? You sound like a monster." "Oh, don't act innocent," Sebastian snapped back. You were the one pushing this from the start. I wanted to wait. Wait? Claire barked out a bitter laugh. You're the one who wanted her signature so we could sell this place and clear your debts. Stop it, I said softly, but with enough force to make them both freeze. You spent weeks rehearsing your lies. Now, let's hear the truth. Sebastian rubbed his temples, his voice breaking. I didn't mean it like that, Mom. You don't understand the pressure we've been under. The mortgage, Claire's business failing. Claire spun on him. Don't you dare blame me. This was your idea. I watched them unravel across the table. The smug, united front they'd worn for weeks was crumbling into ash. Stop, I said again, firmer this time. They both fell silent. I don't care whose idea it was, I said. You both showed me exactly who you are. From the hallway, there was a knock at the door. Mr. Ellison stepped in, his expression cool and professional. Everything's in order, he said. The trust is finalized. The eviction notice has been served. And as of this moment, they no longer have access to your accounts. Claire's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. This is theft, she shouted. You can't take what's ours. I stood slowly, my chair scraping back against the hardwood. It was never yours, I said, my voice steady. You loved my money more than me. Now you'll get neither. Sebastian reached for my hand again. Mom, please, don't do this. I'm your son. Sebastian's voice cracked as he stumbled toward me, his hand outstretched like he could pull back the years with a single touch. I didn't mean it. We were stressed. We made mistakes. But we're family. You can't throw us out like this. Claire spun on him, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Stop groveling. She's manipulating you. Can't you see? She wants to die alone in this dusty old house. Let her. Shut up, Sebastian snapped, turning on her with a fury I'd never seen before. This is your fault. You pushed and pushed until she hated us. Claire's face went red. My fault? You were the one too cowardly to ask her for help yourself. I did everything for you, Sebastian. I stood silently by the door, watching them claw at each other like rats in a sinking ship. Stop, I said softly. They froze, both of them staring at me like I'd slapped them. You keep saying family, I continued, but family doesn't measure your worth in dollars. Family doesn't laugh while they strip you of everything you've built. Sebastian shook his head frantically. It wasn't like that. We thought we were helping. No, I said firmly. You thought I was helpless, and you mistook my silence for weakness. Claire grabbed her bag and shoved past him. This is pathetic, she spat. You want to play martyr? Fine. Don't come crying to us when you're lonely and broke. Her heels clattered down the hall, each step like a drumbeat of retreat. Sebastian stayed rooted to the spot, his chest heaving. I'm sorry, he whispered. I don't know how it got this far. Please, I can fix this. I'll do better. Don't cut me out. I looked at him, not the man standing there, but the boy he used to be, the boy who clutched my hand at the dentist, who drew me clumsy Mother's Day cards. That boy was long gone. You loved my money more than you ever loved me, I said quietly. Now you'll have neither. His face crumpled as the words sank in, and still, I didn't flinch. When the front door finally closed behind him, the house fell into a silence so deep it felt alive. I stood in the middle of the living room, my legs trembling. The weight of it all hit me at once. The betrayal, the plotting, the years I spent blind to their growing hunger. My knees buckled, and I sank onto the couch. For a moment, I let myself cry, not for them, but for me, for the woman I used to be. The woman who thought love alone could shield her from this kind of pain. Maybe I'd been naive. Maybe I'd loved too fiercely, too blindly, but no more. By the time the tears stopped, the house felt different. Lighter, like I'd swept out something rotten. I sat up straighter and wiped my face. Maybe I wasn't the perfect mother. But tonight, I'd been perfect at one thing: surviving. Tomorrow, I'd call the conservatory and finalize the donation in Cliff's name. Tonight, I would sit here alone, not because they left me, but because I finally shut the door. The house stayed quiet long after Sebastian and Claire were gone. No footsteps upstairs. No whispered schemes behind closed doors. Just me, the tick of the old clock on the wall, and the faint hum of my own breath. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt like freedom. The next morning, I stood at the window with a cup of tea in my hands. Outside, the sun stretched across the lawn, golden and warm. The air smelled different, clean, like the house had exhaled along with me. The call from the conservatory came at noon. "Mrs. Whitmore," the director said warmly, "your donation has been finalized, and your husband's name will be inscribed on our new music hall." "Thank you," I said softly. When the call ended, I didn't cry. I just sat still, staring at the sunlight on the floorboards. Cliff had always said music was the purest form of love. It felt right to leave it in his name, not theirs. The letters started arriving a week later. The first was from Clare, her handwriting tight and angry. "You'll regret this. We're family. How could you do this to us?" I tore it in half without reading more. The second came from Sebastian. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know how bad it had gotten. Claire pushed me, but I should have stopped her." I lost sight of what mattered. "I'm teaching music at a small school now. It's not much, but it's honest work." I didn't reply, but I smiled faintly as I set the letter down. Weeks passed, and the house slowly became mine again. The scent of Claire's perfume faded from the drapes. The sound of Sebastian's heavy boots no longer echoed in the hall. In their place came peace. One evening, I dressed carefully, pearl earrings, a soft blue scarf, and walked into the concert hall downtown. The air buzzed with quiet chatter as the orchestra tuned their instruments. When the first notes rose, I closed my eyes. For 15 years, I'd lived in silence. And now, the music flooded through me, warm and alive. This was love. Not the clinging, demanding love Sebastian and Claire claimed to offer, but the kind that asked for nothing and gave everything. When the final applause faded, I walked out into the night alone, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel lonely. I felt whole. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and let me know which city you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story travels. And make sure to subscribe to the channel and watch our other videos.